and they do not believe in regional autonomies per se, as you as people believe. Now, Showore himself thinks of himself as a minority within the larger Yoruba faction. That already poses an issue, but I won't go into that. Now, in every place where you've seen a revolution happen, right? People talk, everybody has the same thinking. Let me give example. French Revolution, Russian Revolution, and the Haiti Revolution. All of them, and the Iran Revolution, all of them had the same philosophy. All of them, which one? Tigray, right. Algeria. So look at the situation in Ethiopia going on now. With the way the Oromo and the Amaras are fighting, only a man can come here and say, yeah, let's do a revolution together. You saw NSAS happening in Nigeria, where as we are fighting in the south, the north was saying, no, 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 we like NSAS. This is like that. How to do a revolution in that kind of country? Is it going to do a revolution and tell the Fulani man, the Hausa man, to join the Yoruba man and the Igbo man, two wars? That, I don't know. This is that people don't see what's happening on ground, or people just romanticize ideas, right? These are people where when Afghanistan got in power, in Taliban got in power in Afghanistan, they were separated from each and principle. We were getting scared in the south. That, hey, when will this thing? And you are saying that somebody should now do a revolution for the whole of Nigeria where people don't think the same way. Are you seeing that dot? And does that look very feasible to you? How would you have a revolution where you say, yeah, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, yeah, come, let's go and fight the government? Will the Northerners join you to go and fight that kind of fight? Okay, one of the things that we were fighting against that we don't want Sharia to be part of our laws. Do you think the Northerners will join you in that kind of fight? So this is a question we are posing to you. What kind of revolution do you think Showore can do that will make sense for all of us to join? Why don't you lecture us on that? That, okay, this is how he's going to do the revolution. This is what he wants. And then let us know how feasible that is, looking at the semantics and everything involved. Do you think we're not stupid? Before we have a position here, we've thought about it very well. So that's what I have to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Smoke, are you there? Who's the next person?
Next person now. I think
No, I want him to respond. Let him respond. So that okay. Can he respond?
You want me to respond?
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Please, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah. I very much yes. Thank you very much. I think you've really enlightened me.
Sorry, Pando, 1 second. I'm on non-TV. The list is on my PTR, so please just give me 5 minutes.
Pando. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, you've really enlightened me. I would say, definitely you made a lot of salient points from what you said. I mean, like the example you gave with the NSAS, where it was glaring. I mean, I read it and I was taken aback as well. When up north they are saying NSAS is not a problem, and that is a problem for the south. Meanwhile, police brutality, I feel, is something that is not just a southern problem. A policeman in the south is the same policeman in the north. If a policeman is brutal in the south, the same policeman will collect bribe in the north. So the whole that example from what you said, I think it makes a lot of sense, in that regard. I think from what Shewa was trying to say was that he was looking at the perspective of a revolution, whereby if we have a revolution that everyone, in one way or the other, irrespective in Nigeria, we are all like aggrieved with what we have right now. No one is happy. That with that revolution, that everyone is aggrieved. Everyone is aggrieved at the moment, and that if you are on the revolution now side of things, then also whoever when it comes to people when it comes to like people breaking away or saying this is what we want, that when that happens, everyone will now come to the table. To now create a room where everyone will come to the table and say, okay, let us discuss now. What do we do going forward? And this is how we want to, go about it. I think that's his own standpoint.
Okay, so I'm going to say this, then I'm going to yield the mic. Every revolution has a focus. We are going to have a revolution, but not sure what kind of revolution. The revolution itself is to break away from Fulani people. The Gideon Oka revolution, the what do you call it? The Ojuku revolution, Aburi Accord. That is the revolution that we are asking for. That's totally different from what Showore wants. So it's not like we are not going to have a revolution. We're just not going to have Showore's kind of revolution. And with this, I yield the mic. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine so far. That's great for me. Isma, thank you.
Thank you very much, Bonka. Thank you very much. Patu, kindly help me mute your mic. Yeah. So the next person is ONG. ONG, are you there?
Thank you for giving me these opportunities to speak. Good morning from here. I was listening when I joined. I heard one of our sisters saying that we must vote, that sit at home doesn't have any effect. Yes, it is. From all records available, we know that the system is flawed. From all indications, elections doesn't count in Nigeria. What they do in Nigeria is selection. No matter what we do now, as we are on this forum, and I believe that on this forum, our objectives, mostly, some of us here, our objectives is self-determination. And this self-determination is under the international, is a guaranteed right under the international law. Then the Nigerian state is saying that they don't have referendum inside the Nigerian constitution. But in that respect, we should remember that in 1961, part of Nigeria was ceded to Cameroon through a referendum, and that is how Adamawa become part of Nigeria too, through a referendum. So a referendum must not be in a constitution for it to be used to determine a political question. Now, what I'm saying in conclusion is this. If we go out to vote, or if we do not go out to vote, the outcome will still be the same as IPOB tried in Anambra State by boycotting it. They still went and they take a video from one primary school and give it to the mainstream compromised media to broadcast that everything went peacefully. Then in Imo State, IPOB allowed people to go and vote. They voted. The fourth candidate becomes the governor today. Whether we sit at home, whether we don't sit at home, the Nigerian state still will impose someone that is there. So if our sister is saying that we should put some people in positions that have the same agenda as we have, it makes no point, because anybody that we choose, even if we choose people from this forum now, and we campaign all over Nigeria to vote them in, they will not be elected, because the people that are giving out the results were selected to represent a particular agenda and a particular interest. So what I'm saying is that this movement for freedom, it is not an easy one, and there is no template or any manual that's available that one must follow in order to get freedom. So we must start from somewhere. It is not an easy task. It must not be that if we boycott election today, everything will be concluded today. It's a process. We must pay the price until we get to the destination. That is what I just want to point out. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ONG. Pastor Bruce.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Do you know what? Yeah. Let me just say this here, because I've heard Isba say some things about me which are totally, really like false. One of the things, let me just say this, yeah. You see how you guys have just addressed what's his name again? Is it who was it that spoke before? Where you actually educated him about Shore's revolution. That is what I'm talking about. So for instance, you educate people to the point where instead of just telling people what to do, you educate people so that they can actually make their own decisions. You don't tell people what to do, because when you're telling people what to do, that's what got us in the mess we are today. Because people have been told what to do instead of educating people, allowing people to actually make their decisions, and actually the democracy that we practice, it's something that we are actually we live by. Instead of just telling, just saying this is the only way and that is just it. And also as well, like I said, I have never ever tell anyone to go and support Shore. I don't support Shore, to be in fact of the matter. I've never told anyone that. And sometimes when you try to include me as part of IKs, I am not that. I listen very well, And the thing is, when I ask questions, sometimes it rubs us the wrong way when we ask questions. And this is one thing I'm going to say to you guys as the moderators as well. When people are asking questions, do not be afraid because they're asking questions or the way they are asking questions. Sometimes the way some people communicate is very different, but just focus on what they're saying and let's not get too emotional about things. That's one thing that I would like to say, because remember, we're all coming from all different backgrounds. Me, I'm from the abroad, but also as well, I'm also very much open to learning, because there's a lot of learning that I have had to do, So that's one thing I like to listen. And when obviously Goro is saying that, I only come here for 5 minutes, that is absolutely wrong. Because when I do come in here, all I hear is just spewing hate. But when I'm coming into a room, when I'm seeing there's more education and I'm learning something, I am more likely to stay. And that's more likely people from my background that are like that as well. Because when they come into the room, all they're just hearing is hate this. All I need is this, that. Do you know what I mean? Seriously. When it comes to the point when you're educating, and where Tonali was speaking about the Constitution, I've even had so many more questions just to even ask. And now I'm starting to understand it's not more or less the people or the tribes, it's actually that fraudulent document, which we all know it is the main focus, that we should totally be focused on that Constitution. It is the virus that is keeping Nigeria in the way where it is right now. Because if that Constitution was to be thrown away, not to be amended, and to actually be redrafted on behalf of every single person, every region coming to the table, and then realizing, are we going to be in this Nigeria that we are in? That's when you see the true Nigerians come, if they want to stay together. We all know that's the truth. But let's focus. I'm more likely to focus on the Constitution instead of just focus on tribal this, tribal that. That's why I just yield for now.
Thank you very much, Pastor Bruce. Yes, Busui.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. You guys, well done, especially the lawyers who took time to teach us earlier. I just have a few questions, and I'm addressing them to Tolani. I hope that she'll be able to enlighten us. All right. So the first thing I want to say is, Tolani, thank you for what you did earlier. Now, do you think that the constitutional amendment that was set in motion a few months ago would make any difference, or do you think it's better to? I understand this thing about. I'm going to get back to the issue of agitation and all that. I know it's legitimate, it's valid. I'm just asking this question as though we're not talking about that now. Do you think the constitutional amendment, that was set in motion is valid? Do you think it's going to make any difference, or do you think it's better to resort to the recommendations from the sovereign national conferences that we've had? We had one during Joe Obasanjo's tenure as president, and also during President Jonathan. So, do you think that those would be the recommendations from those conferences would be a better way to have a new constitution, or do you think whatever they are doing right now in terms of amending the constitution, which I don't know exactly what it's looking like, but it looks funny in some places, but do you think that would make any difference at all? Number two, knowing that while the agitation is important, while people want to have different nations, and it makes a lot of sense, knowing that it's probably not going to happen in the next 2 years, isn't it better to be involved? Yes, we know that, maybe some people, are fraudulent when it comes to election and all that, but isn't it better to be involved with that electoral process and do what you can do so that you don't lose on both sides? Because we know that we can't get anything in the next 2 years in terms of having separate nations, but why not? Doesn't it make sense, to be involved in the electoral process that's going to give rise to the incoming guard, so to speak, at least for in the next 2 years? Whilst, of course, people still, keep on with the whole thing about having a Yoruba nation and a Biafra nation. Shouldn't we be involved in that election? And the third thing is this: are there practical ways to engage those going into political offices so that when they get there, maybe by chance, I don't know how that would happen, they probably would help in this whole thing about referendum and things like that? Because as it is now, it looks to me like we're going to need people who are in politics to help with some of the agenda that we're pushing, even in this room. I hope you got the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Solana, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Okay. First thing first, I think where we are, like Ishba said, is beyond a constitutional amendment. But then, having said that, even if so, assuming without conceding that, okay, we could resolve our issues by way of a constitutional amendment, you cannot do a constitutional amendment without the input of the people. So until otherwise, what are you addressing? So until you decide to bring all the regions together and say, okay, what are the issues? What do we need to address? Only then can we be talking about a constitutional amendment. So yes, I know that there've been attempts to make some adjustments to the constitution, but on what, by who, on what authority? And let me just say something. The federal government, they try to think like, they make us look like we're a joke to them, and they do it all the time. The most recent example was when they tried to amend the Electoral Act to allow for electronic transmission of votes. And a lot of people were happy. What you don't know, or what people don't know, is that there's a clause there that sort of gives them a discretion on whether or not to transmit the votes by way of electronic means. So what they do, they say, okay, what do they want? Okay, let's just keep there so that it doesn't look like we're working. Okay, let's just do something to sort of give them the vibe that, okay, we're doing something. The same thing they did during NSAS. Okay, you people are shouting too much. Okay, we're not giving you NSAS. Okay, we're taking away NSAS. Okay, we're giving you SWAT. And that's what they do all the time. So yes, there were some moves in place at the time to make some alterations to the constitution. Believe me, I don't take it seriously. I don't think anyone should. Back to your second question about, okay, based on where we are, we know we elect a leader, which is what I have been saying. And I'm just going to use this opportunity. Since you asked me, I'm going to use this opportunity to say it again, that yes, my suggestion would be that we have long-term goals and short-term goals, right? And so this is now also going to the last speaker. I did not say that you should take your PVC and vote for another chief. I know that's not what you said, but that's the implication. What I said is that, can we not come together and beat them at their game? Let's just have some sort of critical thinking and say, these are the challenges we want. I know that we all agree, even the Hausa Fulani, if they actually see that, and I'm sure it's not because of the greed in their mind. They know that we're different people. We don't even like each other, for starters. We're different people completely, right? But because of greed, they insist that they want to be amongst us. So whilst we know that our long-term goal is to completely collapse the system, I don't think that we should fold our arms. I think that we should. I don't have the answer, unfortunately. But I know that if we all come together to say, you know what, these elections are coming, what do we need to do to beat these people at their game? We might not even have any input in who the president is, but we might have been able to take a step or two in ensuring that we get to our long-term goal. And that's why I said maybe find ways to put people. I also gave the example of Bonka. I said if we make Bonka the president today, I do not think that Bonka would have enough powers to organize the country. But if we sort of have long-term goals and do things strategically, we might. Because so the more we're aggressive in terms of pushing and saying we don't want to be together, and these people know that you're trying to take food off their table, the more aggressive they will be to ensure that they stay there. And when I started my presentation, I said that, what if when Buhari, before he leaves power, you don't know what sort of steps he will take to ensure that he further enriches the North. I gave the example of the, the revenue allocation. I said that the committee that sits together to share a commonwealth is elected by the president, and you cannot change it for 5 years. So all he needs to do is to ensure that when he's leaving office, he puts people there again that might further enrich the North. And the next president, whoever he is, cannot come and do anything about it. So what I'm saying is that, yes, let us come together, have critical minds that can sit together to think, to say, these are the challenges we have in front of us, as opposed to acting like they're not there, and find a way to beat these people at their own game and take a step or two towards ensuring that we can get the nations to collapse. I believe I've answered your questions.
Yeah, you did. You did. Thank you, Tolani. But the last one was, one more. The last one actually was that, are there practical ways to actually engage those going into political offices? Or is it like it doesn't make any sense at all to work with people in political offices who probably would be able to help with pushing some of this agenda?
Okay, for me, I don't know how best to answer that question, because at the end of the day, these are people who have made themselves into special purpose vehicles, and so we're recycling the same sort of people at the end of the day. That's just the bitter truth of it. So even if he gets there, even if he has sincerity of mind to say he wants to make a difference, when he gets there, he sees all the stumbling blocks. He either becomes redundant or they find ways to push him out. But in terms of practical ways to engage him, I really cannot say. People who are campaigning for, I really don't know what the procedure for that is. People have access to them, I guess. They campaign. They have the whole town hall meetings, I believe. I'm not sure. Maybe that might be a way, but these are not people I take seriously, to be honest.
All right. Thank you, Tolani. Thank you.
All right. Busi, is Abiola there?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Yeah.
Right. Please.
Yeah. I think Ms. Tolani has addressed my issue. Thank you. I rest my case.
All right. Thank you very much. Pastor Bruce, were you flashing?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question quickly, if this is possible.
Just a second, please. I just want to refresh the room. So you're welcome to the Review Club. Kindly follow the club by clicking on the greenhouse icon if you're not doing so already. We have, or rather we host conversations such as this, political conversations, spanning all across Nigeria and then across Africa. Please do well to follow the moderators and the speakers on stage who you resonate with. We're having a constitutional conversation today, and we're looking into the constitution. And several people have asked questions. The conversation has progressed. So yes, we have amiable lawyers, competent lawyers in the building. Tolani, and not so long ago, Ubona was with us. So we're directing some of our questions to her. We thank her for her patience. So please, if you're in the audience and you have questions as regards the constitution or electoral process or whatever, you can come on stage and you're going to speak. So right now, I'm going to be taking a new roll call. So please, if you want to speak, kindly flash your mics and then I'll add you to the list. So yeah, so I see Ewuma, I see Olasheinde. Pastor Bruce, yes, you would go first. So please, if you are in the audience and you want to speak, please raise your you could come up. I also see Hisba Police. And then if you don't want to come on stage, you can send me a back channel message and then I'll read them out and relay them to Tolani. So yes, Pastor Bruce, then Ewuma, then Olasheinde, then Hisba. Pastor Bruce, go ahead.
Okay, you know what? I don't think Ewuma has spoken before. Do you know what? Let me give him professional to go first.
All right, no problem. Thank you very much. Ewuma.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you for your consideration. I've been following this discussion across the rooms. So just a breaking news as we speak now, as at last Thursday, a village was sacked by the Fulani herdsmen. It's a village along when you're coming from Jos to Abuja, just by the way. So as we are speaking, guys, people are dying. And the truth is, these guys know what's happening. They just deliberately come and enter the beach and then do what they're supposed to do. The next thing I want to talk about is the issue of election. If you look at what happened in 2019, it wasn't just rigging election for rigging. If you look at the voting pattern and the numbers that were turned out, what it just means is with a little tweak in numbers, especially for southern votes, the North can comfortably produce the president. That is another thing. That is one area. Then the other area is that even the judiciary, can you imagine how the whole chief justice of a country was removed from office? I mean, with all the things. So what it means is, and to even that all these things we are saying, we have house, we have legislative arm of government that are really in the pocket of the executive. We have senators. All these things we are saying, the whole southern parts are represented, even if they are not up to the number from the north. Look at when vote happens. It seems as if some of these politicians are actually proxies or stooge of these northerners. So when you hear people talk, and I understand the intellectualism, like I think one of the rooms, Pat Utomi was saying that we are doing intellectual masturbation or something like that. The truth is, this when they say Fulani is not my enemy, yes, it's true, but the people on ground, when we speak English in town, the people on ground, these are people you have lived with, Fulani you have lived with, the natives, they go there and kill those people mercilessly because they have something to fulfill. So I really want us to look at, it looks as if whatever thing you do, the election will happen, whether we like it or not, whether we boycott or not, whether we mobilize or not, because I heard Pat Utomi say use the Shekaro method in Kano. Shekaro method was used when there was semblance of democracy. Now, what happened in 2019 with between Ganduje and Umar, with all the shenaniganism and all the revolts, these guys still win. What happened in Oshun? Clearly, the untwisted people and those guys still win. So we're in a I don't know how to say, we're in a really serious problem. First, the guys are crafted, when they say the constitution is a problem, yes. But there are people who crafted that constitution to make it favor them. So those guys will never yield ground. And they'll keep pointing you. It's like you are playing the football, you are playing a game. And the rules are set in a way that there is no way you can win that game. What do you do? Again, like I said, and I think the same question we're asking, what do we do? Participate, and then the more, and it looks as if the more times go, the more the agenda is being realized, the deeper it becomes. Look at the whole of the justices of the Supreme Court. Look at all the military, all the paramilitary organizations. Look at everywhere. I have been in the north. If you go to a state where you have substantial number of Christians and Muslims together, and if you see the oppression that happens, states like Gombe, there's what they said, educationally disadvantaged local government. They use the local government fund to fund the Muslim-dominated local government and say, for southern local government that have Christians, they say they are not disadvantaged in education. Imagine that. So I really want us to think through. I don't know how we can help our people. Like I said, people are dying now. They are killing people. What do we do? Thank you. I yield the mic.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ewuma. Olashenide, are you there, please?
It's me.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone.
Unknown T. You know, I just gave my spot to so that Ewuma could go first, you know. But
so sorry about that. Olashenide, just give me a second. Pastor Bruce, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I just want to ask Tolani, because you know when you said short-term goals and long-term goals, so what would you say? Like for instance, if we was to strategically put certain, say for instance, certain representative obviously in office, so in long-term wise we can actually bring this government to a halt where we now can actually force direct change.
what would that be like for the short term? And like, for instance, like what can you give us maybe you don't have to give us the full strategy, but like just like a cliff points of what that could look like.
Okay, Pastor Bruce, I have said this over and over. I don't have the answer to this. What I've said is we can all sit down and use our critical mind to analyze what can be achievable. I just gave an example.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think you're in the middle.
And that's why I say when I say participate in the electoral process, I don't mean go and vote. Oh, okay. Just a second. Okay, is it better now?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so what I said is that I just gave an example, and I said when I say participate in the electoral process, I'm not saying go and vote for another thief because there's nobody to vote for. I just said that I was just trying to draw an analogy to say how about we all just sit down together. It doesn't have to be everybody, but just sit down together and see what is achievable. So I don't have the answer, but I know that if we come together, we can find those answers as to what is achievable, bearing in mind the stumbling blocks that we have in front of us. So that's my answer. So when I said, okay, when I say plant people in strategic places, that was just me trying to draw by giving an example of something that we can come up with. It doesn't mean that is what has to work.
True. Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, Alan, thank you so much. Pastor Bruce, are you satisfied or you just want to conclude?
Well, yeah. But for me, it's just that I'm always like, for instance, if you can't, that one of the things that we shouldn't do is to approach. It seems like we're all approaching things from an emotional standpoint. We've got to start being very strategic in what we're doing as well, and not obviously turn a blind eye to what's happening from the side or the left or behind us. So it just seems like we're all going towards one way, but we need to be very focused on what we're trying to do, because I'm sure we all want the same thing, but it's how we go about it,
All right, Pastor Bruce, thank you so much for that submission. Olashendi, you have the floor, please. Go ahead.
Once again, thank you for the opportunity. My question is about the exclusive list. Because I know for a fact that Savannah State mining gold. And I think natural resources and mineral resources is under the exclusive list. So I want to know what law is Savannah State hiding under to mine gold, why other governors can't do same. Then I think last week I was reading that the state government signed the arms deal, Turkish government to procure some drones, attack drones. I think they are from People's Gazette. So why is Savannah State government able to do all these things? Why other governors can't do same? So I want to know what is there any special law is hiding under, or is any special? I don't know. I just want to know, because I'm thinking, why is the Savannah State government able to mine gold, procure arms, why other governors can't do same? Thank you. That's my question.
All right, thank you very much. Tolani, are you there?
Yeah, so mines and minerals is in item 39 of the exclusive list. It's also confirmed in section 443 of the Constitution. So yes, mines, minerals, oil fields, all mining, geological surveys, natural gas are all within the purview of the federal government. So no state ordinarily has the powers over them. So if you're here when I started, I said that it completely robs the people of the Niger Delta of their rights over their natural resources. It should be the same for Zamfara, but your government has just decided not to do anything about it. That's just the honest truth. There's no legal answer to that. They've just decided to look away, just the way they've looked away with the terrorists that are terrorizing all of us in the country. That's just a simple answer.
If I may have, that means can people now see that voting for this bastard is not the way out? Because how will I be a governor? For example, I'm from Ondo State. By now, if I were to be a governor of the state, by now I would have been exploring bitumen from Agbabu by now. We would have started exploration. If anything comes to us, then the permissions that our state government has to mine gold, I will hide under that to mine my own. Then I will procure arms also to defend my people. See, all of them are just keeping quiet. So I said, does that man have two heads? So before I was thinking maybe there's any special provision, maybe because of the security wise or any, I don't know, or economic situation of the state. That's why maybe they gave him, maybe the National Assembly gave him the kind of provisional go ahead, do all these things. So if a state do those things, then why are people from the south? Why are the government? Why are they not doing? This thing is kind of they should have thrown legality into the ocean and continue to mine their own resources and procure arms and protect their people. So that means these people we have problem with. There's something fundamentally wrong with us. Why are these people not? Why are they keeping quiet? They are killing your people. You can't procure arms, and why some state? Maybe underground, maybe some other states in the north they are doing. Who knows? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, Ononti, hold on. Tolani, regarding what Oleshinde just said, is there any maneuver for governors to say, okay, let us use what Zamfara is doing as president to go and buy arms or procure arms or procure whatever they need to fight or to protect themselves? Is there any legal carpet or legal standpoint for them to stand on and hold on to and say, okay, if Zamfara can do it, we also can do it? Just to clarify, let's know whether our governors are armless or they're just being useless.
No, the truth of the matter is the only way out of it is to actually just go to court. That's the only way out of it. I know people have sought to challenge the Firearms Act, right? I'm not very familiar with what exactly they want to get out of it, but that's the only way. Because I don't know there must be some sort of license that the Zamfara government is using. But anything that you give, insofar as it's inconsistent with the constitution, is null and void. So even if the state government, they decide to do something, they pass a law that gives them, they'll come for you based on the constitution. So whatever the Zamfara government is doing let's assume, I don't know what license or what law they are working under. It cannot stand in the face of the constitution, right? But like I said, the government has just chosen to look away and just allow it because the Buhari government is part of this agenda. So the simple answer is the best way is actually just to go to court. And especially, let me say something. There's something in the constitution. It is very, very clear. I can actually look for it and read it out. It says that there shall be no other police force in Nigeria. So it's very clear as to whether you can have it. And that's why people will call their protection groups vigilante groups, because the constitution is very clear on that. But then again, you have Hishwa police in the north. So it's just a function of, okay, maybe there's rule of law, but some people are some people are above the law, and some people are under the law, or if there's any word like that. It's just a function of looking away, and the only way to get to be above it is. And you know the funny thing, I actually
Tolani, sorry. That situation, what you said about Hishba police just triggered something in my head. That's why I just stopped you. The fact that the South practices a different penal code and this thing, is that going to be, or can that be used as a basis as to why you see these things, what they're doing, like the Hishba police and procuring firearms in the north, and the South is not allowed to do that? Could that be a reason?
So I think what they will say to you.
Sorry to interrupt, but Hizbah is not police.
What is Hishba?
Please go ahead, please, Tolani. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I've lost my train of thought. Okay, so you have the criminal code and the penal code. Those are laws that our laws actually have allowed that. So that doesn't really, it doesn't change anything. It's of no effect to us. It doesn't affect us in any way. But okay, I've forgotten your question. Based on somebody just interrupted me, and I lost.
Sorry, I was saying the fact that the South practices a different penal code from the North. Is that why you see things like the North, some other states being able to produce firearms, to buy firearms? And
no. The criminal code and the penal code are just limited to crimes. So the laws that regulate the criminal code are just the crime. So what is considered a crime? What is the punishment prescribed for it? So let me tell you this: the way the North has been designed is that the North, their laws are sort of they are likened to the Muslim Sharia laws. So, and that is why, for example, if you check the penal code, somehow I don't know how that was allowed to slip into the law. It is sort of a man is actually allowed to chastise his wife based on the Sharia laws, but you wouldn't find that kind of thing in the South. So the penal code and the criminal code are just limited to a crime, so the criminal laws, but it has nothing to do with civil laws or your economic laws. It doesn't have anything to do with that. But the thing is, the point I actually wanted to make is that in a way, you gave them some sort of self-determination when you allowed them to enact laws that favors them as a people. Even though in Section 10 of the Constitution, it says that you should not apply any religion for the country, but you've allowed the North. That is self-determination in a stylish way, right? So at the end of the day, it all just still goes back to the sincerity of the government and people who are part of the agenda. That is just the bottom line of all of it. But in terms of the people mining gold, the Constitution does not allow for it. It doesn't. It's very clear. I mentioned where it is in the exclusive list. I even mentioned where it is within the Constitution itself. It's not allowed by our laws, but the government has just chosen to look away. But if the South does the same thing, they'll come for you. An example is the law on open grazing, for example. Right. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much, Tolani. Thank you so much. Abiola. Okay, yeah, so I think Abiola has asked his question. Ijua, are you flashing?
Yeah, my brother. I just stepped out, but I came in.
All right, just a second. Please, if you want to speak, kindly flash your mics. Don Baba, are you there? All right, if you want to speak, kindly flash. I've not heard your voice today. Yeah, so Hisba, just a second. All right, no wala. Hisba, no vex, I beg. Go ahead.
If after Hisba, I will speak.
All right, go ahead.
Because I see you people need the help of a lawyer. I'm also a lawyer.
Which lawyer? Don Baba, you are not a qualified lawyer. You are not taking your law. Do not listen to. You must be charged and bail if you think that.
You must practice and
so guys, so guys, thank you thanks Tolani for joining us today. It's been very educating. Please kindly follow the review club. Arakunrin Bonka, how about that? I already scheduled. There is an upcoming program we'll be having, very, very educative. It's more